You're at Sunday dinner. Everyone's laughing. You tell a true story about something that bothered you at work. Nothing crazy, just honest. The laughter stops. Your mum changes the subject. Your brother stares at his plate. Your aunt gets up to grab water nobody asked for. 30 seconds, and you became the ghost at the table. Monday morning, meeting at work. Your boss asks for ideas. You give one, a good one. Everyone looks at their laptop. Silence. 2 minutes later, your coworker says the same thing with different words. Everyone agrees, takes notes, thanks him. You stay invisible. Friday night, group of friends. Someone tells a joke about something you don't find funny. You don't laugh. Just don't laugh. Didn't say anything, didn't judge anyone. Just stayed quiet. 2 hours later, you weren't invited to the second bar. And nobody forgot. Everyone chose not to call. 3 situations. 3 different places. Same feeling. That pit in your stomach, telling you that you just did something wrong without knowing what. That tightness in your chest when you realize the mood shifted and you're the reason. That weight when you understand that being real just cost you your place in the group. You didn't curse anyone out. Didn't disrespect anyone. You just didn't repeat the same phrase everyone was repeating. You didn't laugh at the joke everyone found hilarious. You showed you think different, and that was enough. The room doesn't kick you out. The room just stops seeing you. People keep talking, just not to you anymore. Keep laughing, just not at what you say you're there. But you're not inside anymore. There's this invisible deal running all the time. Nobody signed it, nobody read it, but everyone follows it. The deal is simple. You can be different. As long as you're different the right way. You can think for yourself, as long as you arrive at the same answers as everyone else. You can have opinion, as long as they fit in the box of allowed opinions. The problem isn't you having your own way of seeing things. The problem is that way showing up in front of others. Because when you show you think different, you're doing more than just talking. You're showing that the rules everyone follows aren't that obvious. You're breaking the illusion that everyone naturally agrees, and that hurts. Because if you can think different and still stand, maybe other people can too. And then the group loses control. Then everyone becomes one. And nobody wants that. So the group doesn't fight you. The group doesn't argue. The group simply turns you into nothing. Slowly, quietly. You speak and nobody responds. You ask and they answer with one word. You arrive and people are already in the middle of another conversation. You leave and nobody notices. It's not anger. It's worse. It's indifference with purpose. It's erasing you without getting their hands dirty. And you start to feel the weight. It's not a weight that hurts all at once. It's a weight that keeps growing. Every time you speak and nobody looks. Every time you try and nobody responds. Every time you exist and nobody acknowledges it. It builds up, it tightens, until you start doubting if it's really worth it to keep being different. Until you start thinking maybe it would be easier to just pretend. Just copy. Just disappear the right way. Because the loneliness of being alone is one thing. The loneliness of being surrounded by people and being invisible is another. That one hurts more. That one cuts deeper. That one makes you ask if the problem isn't you. If you're not overreacting. If you shouldn't just accept it and move on. And maybe that's exactly what the group wants. For you to doubt yourself before you doubt the rules. The erasure works because nobody takes responsibility. Nobody comes up and says they're excluding you. Nobody admits they're punishing you for being different. Everyone acts like nothing is happening. And if you complain, you become the crazy one. The too sensitive one. The one creating problems out of nothing. Because how are you going to prove someone stopped seeing you? How are you going to show the silence is on purpose? You can't. And then it looks like the problem only lives in your head. But it doesn't. You know it doesn't. You feel the difference between being alone because you wanted to, and being alone because you were pushed. You recognize the look that turns away. The conversation that dies when you arrive. The invitation that never comes. This isn't imagination. This isn't paranoia. This is how it works when someone steps out of line without making noise. I wonder if this touches something you've already felt. If you've been in that place where being real cost too much. Maybe you have a similar story stored away. These things tend to keep turning in your head, and each person feels it differently. Your way matters. There was a writer who understood this before everyone else. He wrote about people who wake up guilty without knowing why, about judgments that happen without accusation, about systems that crush without explaining why. He showed that sometimes you're punished not for what you did, but for the simple fact of existing in a way that doesn't fit. And the punishment comes disguised as normal, comes quiet, comes inevitable. You live this today. At work, when your idea is ignored just because it didn't come from the right mouth. In the family, when you think different and become the problematic one. In the friend group, when you don't laugh at the same things, and suddenly you're not called anymore. There's no court, no judge, no official sentence. But you were judged, and you were convicted, and the penalty is disappearing little by little, without anyone needing to remove you from the place. The scariest part is this doesn't need malice. The people who erase you don't wake up planning to destroy you. They just follow instinct. The instinct to keep the group tight, to protect the way things are, to not let anyone rock the boat, and you're the boat rocking. Not because you want to, just because you are. So they cut you. Not with a knife, with absence, with forgetting, with polite coldness. And the cruelest part is that it works. Because humans need people, need to belong, need to feel like they matter to someone. And when that's taken away slowly, when you start disappearing to others without even leaving the place, something inside you starts to crack. You can resist, can keep being different, can handle the cold of always being on the outside. But that has a price, and nobody tells you what it is before you pay. The price is carrying a question that won't leave your head. The question of whether it's worth being real in a world that rewards those who fake it well. And the answer isn't simple, because if you give in, if you erase what makes you different just to be accepted, you become a shadow of yourself. Become someone who exists to please, to not bother, to fit. But if you don't give in, if you insist on being real, you pay the price of loneliness, of invisibility, of slow erasure. There's no pretty exit, no answer that solves it. There's only the awareness that the game is rigged, and that you choose which pain you prefer to carry. The pain of betraying yourself, or the pain of being betrayed by others. Both hurt, both wound, both leave marks. The group knows this, even without talking, even without planning. The group knows that if they give you attention, if they give you space, if they give you voice, it loses some control. Because you're living proof that you can think different and keep breathing, and that's dangerous. That opens doors. That plants doubt. So it's easier to erase you, ignore you until you give up, or until you leave, or until you become the same. And some people do. Some people get tired. Some people look around, see they're alone, and decide they can't take it anymore. Then they start copying, start repeating, start laughing at the right jokes, agreeing with the right opinion, being the right way, and the group accepts them back. Because now you're safe. Now you don't threaten. Now you're just one more. But some people don't. Some people prefer the cold outside to the fake warmth inside. Some people choose true loneliness over fake company. And these people pay. Every day. Every moment, every time they walk into a room and feel they don't belong. Every time they speak and nobody truly listens. Every time they exist and the world pretends they don't. But these people also hold on to something. Hold on to the feeling of still owning themselves. Of not having sold who they are for a seat at the table. Of not having traded truth for comfort. And that doesn't cure the pain. Doesn't fill the void. But it's something. It's a type of dignity you can't buy, that you can't negotiate, that stays even when everything else leaves. The erasure continues, will continue, because the way society works hasn't changed. Still rewards those who fit in, still punishes those who stand out the wrong way, still prefers the copy to the original. And this won't end just because you notice. Noticing doesn't change the game, just shows you the cards. And then you decide, with the cards in your hand, knowing there's no way to win the traditional way, knowing that being different will cost you things you don't want to lose, knowing that erasure is real and will happen one way or another. You decide if you play or if you get up from the table. But there's something the group doesn't tell you. Something that stays hidden in the middle of this whole process of making you disappear. It's that, while they erase you, they also reveal who they are. Reveal that they need uniformity to feel safe. Reveal that your difference scares them more than it should. Reveal that their power depends on you accepting the rules without questioning. And when you notice this, when you see that the erasure isn't about you being wrong, but about them being afraid of what you represent, something shifts. It doesn't get easier, doesn't hurt less, but you understand that the punishment isn't fair, that the crime doesn't exist, that you're being convicted for existing outside the box they built for everyone to fit in. This doesn't solve anything, doesn't give you your friends back, doesn't put you back inside the group, doesn't erase the loneliness, but it gives you clarity. And clarity is cruel, because it shows you there's no easy fix, that it's not about you changing a little or them opening their minds a little. It's about different ways of existing that can't occupy the same space at the same time. And then the question remains, the question that won't shut up, the question that will follow you no matter what you choose. If you give in, the question will be who you would have been if you hadn't given up. If you resist, the question will be how long you can carry the weight of always being on the outside. Both questions hurt. Neither has a right answer. But there's something I haven't told you, something about erasure that only appears when you're far enough to see the whole picture. Something that changes everything, and at the same time, changes nothing. If this kind of thing makes sense to you, if these questions that won't leave your head also live in yours, maybe it's worth sticking around. There are more layers to all this. Layers that will show you not just how erasure works, but what it hides. And I'll keep unraveling it. Because there are truths that only appear when you stop looking for answers and start looking at the right questions. The erasure doesn't end. But its story hasn't finished being told.